There are things people will never say out loud. Not because they don't exist, but because the truth is uncomfortable. You think loyalty is common, until you need it. You think people are happy for you, until you succeed. You think silence means peace, until you understand its power. In life, no one sits you down and explains how people really are. So you learn the hard way. Through betrayal, through disappointment, through silence. But what if you didn't have to learn everything the hard way? In the next few hours, you will understand human behavior in a way most people only realize too late. Not theories, not motivation. But real patterns, real truths, real stories. Some will make you wiser. Others may make you uncomfortable. But all of them will change how you see people. Law 1. People respect what they fear losing. Ahmed was always available. Anytime his friends called, he showed up. Anytime they needed help, he said yes. At first, they appreciated him. Then slowly, they stopped valuing him. Calls became commands. Requests became expectations. Until one day, Ahmed stopped showing up. Suddenly, everything changed. Where have you been? We miss you. You've changed. People don't always respect kindness. They respect scarcity. When something is always available, it loses value. When access becomes limited, importance increases. Your presence is powerful. But only when it is not easily taken for granted. Law 2. Silence reveals more than words. Aisha noticed something was off. Her friends smiled, laughed, talked normally. But when she shared good news, there was a pause. A very small pause. Followed by, "That's nice." No excitement. No warmth. Just silence, disguised as politeness. Words can lie. Silence rarely does. Micro-reactions, delays, energy shifts. They expose what people try to hide. Pay attention to what people don't say. It often speaks louder than everything else. Law 3. Not everyone who supports you wants you to win. Musa started a small business. His friends reposted his work. Encouraged him, hyped him up. But when he started making real money, the energy changed. Jokes became subtle digs. Support became silence. And one friend said quietly, "Don't forget us when you blow." But it didn't sound like a joke. People love your potential. Until it becomes reality. Because your success forces them to confront their own stagnation. Some support you. Only as long as you are not ahead of them. Law 4. The less you react, the more control you have. During an argument, Ibrahim stayed calm. No shouting. No insults. Just silence, and controlled words. The other person grew louder, angrier, desperate. Because they couldn't control him. Explanation. Emotional reactions give power away. Calmness creates psychological dominance. When you don't react, you force others to face themselves. Lesson. Control your emotions. Or someone else will use them against you. Law 5. People test you before they respect you. It started small. Late replies. Disrespectful jokes. Ignored boundaries. Fatima laughed it off. It's not that deep. But it kept happening. Because she never corrected it. People test limits to see how far they can go. If you tolerate disrespect once, you silently approve it. What you allow is what will continue. The truth is, people don't change overnight. But your awareness can. And once you start seeing these patterns, you can never unsee them. The deeper you understand people, the quieter you become. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you begin to see what most people miss. Law 6. People value you less when you over-explain. Zainab always felt the need to explain herself. If she was late, she explained. If she said no, she explained. If she made a decision, she explained. At first, people listened. Then, they stopped asking. They started questioning her anyway. Interrupting her. Dismissing her reasons. Because the more she explained, the less confident she sounded. Over-explaining signals uncertainty. And people trust certainty, even when it's wrong. When you constantly justify yourself, you give others permission to judge your decisions. Not everything needs an explanation. Clarity is powerful, but over-justification weakens authority. Law 7. Attention is the real currency. Two people posted the same idea. One got ignored. The other went viral. Not because it was better, but because more people were watching. Suddenly, the same words had more value. In today's world, attention defines importance. People don't always follow truth. They follow what everyone else is looking at. If you understand attention, you understand influence. Law 8. Familiarity breeds silent disrespect. At the beginning, they respected him. They spoke politely, listened carefully. But over time, the tone changed. Jokes became sharper. Boundaries became blurred. Respect didn't disappear suddenly. It faded quietly. The more people get used to you, the less they consciously value you. Unless you maintain boundaries, comfort is good. But too much comfort without boundaries invites disrespect. Law 9. Envy hides behind compliments. I'm so happy for you. That's what she said. But her eyes didn't match her words. The smile was there, but the energy wasn't. Later, she downplayed the achievement to others. Envy rarely shows itself openly. It hides in half-hearted praise, subtle comparisons, and quiet negativity. Not every compliment comes from a good place. Learn to feel energy, not just hear words. Law 10. Power belongs to those who need less. Two men walked into a negotiation. One needed the deal desperately. The other didn't. By the end, only one of them had control. Need creates vulnerability. The person who depends less controls more. This applies to relationships, business, even friendships. The less you depend on others for validation or survival, the more powerful you become. Most people think power is loud. But real power is often quiet, controlled, and unseen. Law 11. People remember how you made them feel. Years later, they forgot what he said. But they never forgot how he made them feel. Safe, respected, heard. Human memory is emotional, not logical. People attach themselves to feelings, not words or actions alone. If you want to be remembered, focus on how people feel around you. Law 12. Weak boundaries attract strong disrespect. He kept saying yes, even when he meant no. He tolerated things he shouldn't have. And slowly, people treated him accordingly. Boundaries are invisible rules. When you don't enforce them, people create their own. Respect starts where your boundaries begin. Law 13. Confidence is often mistaken for competence. He spoke with certainty. No hesitation. No doubt. And people believed him, even when he was wrong. Confidence influences perception. People assume certainty equals knowledge, even when it doesn't. How you present yourself can be just as powerful as what you know. Law 14. People mirror how you treat yourself. She doubted herself, spoke softly, second-guessed everything, and others treated her the same way, as if her voice didn't matter. People take cues from your self-perception. If you don't value yourself, others often won't either. The way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. Law 15. The one who speaks less often leads more. In a room full of noise, he stayed quiet, observing, listening, and when he finally spoke, everyone paid attention. Silence creates weight. People who speak less are often taken more seriously. You don't need to say more to be heard. You need to say less, with purpose. At some point, you stop being surprised by people. Not because they've changed, but because you finally understand them. The more you observe people, the more you realize something unsettling. Not everyone is who they appear to be. And not every connection is as real as it feels. Law 16. Loyalty is tested in absence, not presence. When he was around, everyone laughed with him, supported him, spoke highly of him. But the moment he left, the conversations changed. Jokes turned into criticism. Praise turned into silence. It's easy to be loyal when someone is present. True loyalty reveals itself when there's nothing to gain and no one watching. Don't measure loyalty by how people treat you in front of you, but by how they speak of you behind your back. Law 17. People compete silently. They smiled at each other, encouraged each other, but deep down, they were comparing everything. Progress, attention, recognition, and no one said a word. Competition isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides beneath friendship, masked as support. Not every smile is neutral. Some carry quiet comparison. Law 18. Respect is built through consistency, not words. He made promises. Big ones. I'll always be there. You can count on me. But when it mattered, he wasn't there. Not once. Not twice. Repeatedly. Words create expectations. But only actions, repeated over time, build trust and respect. Consistency speaks louder than promises ever will. Law 19. Fear of loss drives behavior more than desire for gain. He didn't appreciate what he had. Until it was almost gone. Suddenly, effort appeared. Attention increased. Care became urgent. Humans are wired to avoid loss more than to pursue gain. We often act only when something is at risk. If someone only values you when they're about to lose you, that tells you everything. Law 20. People reveal themselves during conflict. Everything was fine. Until there was a disagreement. Then suddenly, respect disappeared. Words became sharp. Boundaries were crossed. Conflict removes filters. It exposes emotional control, character, and true intentions. Pay attention to how people act when things go wrong. That is who they really are. Anyone can be good when life is easy. But pressure reveals what comfort hides. Law 21. Comfort destroys urgency. When things were difficult, he worked hard, stayed focused, pushed himself. But when life became comfortable, everything slowed down. Comfort reduces pressure. And without pressure, growth often stops. Stay disciplined, even when life feels easy. Law 22. Not everyone deserves access to you. He gave everyone access. His time, his energy, his attention. And slowly, he became drained. Access is a privilege. But when you give it freely, people stop respecting it. Protect your time and energy. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. Law 23. Emotional people are easier to control. During the argument, she lost control, raised her voice, reacted instantly, and the other person stayed calm, watching, controlling the situation. Strong emotions cloud judgment. And when judgment is weak, control shifts to the calmer person. Master your emotions, or someone else will. Law 24. People trust actions, not promises. He said all the right things, made all the right claims, but nothing ever changed. And eventually, the words lost meaning. People listen to promises, but they believe patterns. If actions don't match words, believe the actions. Law 25. Status changes how people treat you. Before success, they ignored him. After success, they respected him. Same person, different treatment. Perception influences behavior. People often respond to status, not just character. Don't be surprised when people change. When your position changes. By now, you're starting to see the pattern. People don't always change. Sometimes, you just start seeing them clearly. The truth is, most people don't see reality as it is. They see it through emotion, ego, and perception. And once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. Law 26. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. He was talking, explaining how he felt, trying to be understood. But the other person kept interrupting. Not to listen, but to reply, to defend, to win. Listening requires presence. But most people are busy preparing their response, instead of understanding the message. Pay attention to those who truly listen. They are rare. Law 27. People follow strength, not sympathy. He complained often, shared his struggles, sought understanding. People listened at first. Then slowly, they lost interest. Until one day, no one was listening anymore. People are drawn to strength. Not perfection, but resilience. Too much visible weakness without growth reduces influence. Show your struggles, but show your strength even more. Law 28. Silence can be intimidation. During the meeting, everyone spoke, except him. He just watched, calm, still, observing. And strangely, no one felt comfortable. Silence creates uncertainty, and uncertainty makes people project their thoughts, fears, and assumptions. You don't always need words to have presence. Sometimes silence speaks louder. Law 29. People protect their ego more than the truth. Even when he was wrong, he refused to admit it. Not because he didn't know, but because admitting it would damage his pride. The ego resists being wrong, because being wrong feels like losing identity, not just losing an argument. Don't expect everyone to accept the truth. Some people are more loyal to their ego. Law 30. The more you chase, the less you are valued. He kept calling, kept texting, kept trying. The more effort he gave, the less attention he received. Chasing creates imbalance. It signals that you value the other person more than yourself. And people tend to respect what they have to work for. Stop chasing what isn't choosing you. Value, respect, attention. These things are rarely given freely. They are influenced by perception and behavior. Law 31. People admire what they cannot control. The moment he became unpredictable, less available, more focused on himself, people became more interested. Control creates comfort. But mystery creates attraction. When people can't easily predict or control you, they become more curious. Don't be too easy to figure out. Law 32. Disrespect grows where accountability is absent. It started small. A joke. A comment. A slight boundary crossed. He ignored it. Then it happened again. And again. Without consequences. Behavior repeats. And often, escalates. What you don't correct, you allow. Law 33. People are drawn to mystery. He didn't share everything. Didn't explain every move. Didn't reveal every thought. And somehow, people were more interested in him. Mystery creates curiosity. And curiosity keeps people engaged. Oversharing removes intrigue. You don't have to reveal everything to be understood. Law 34. Familiar people hurt you the most. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone close. Someone trusted. And that's what made it hurt more. The closer someone is, the more access they have. And access can be misused. Be careful who you trust deeply. Closeness increases impact. Law 35. People believe what they see repeatedly. At first, they doubted him. But he kept showing up. Again. And again. Until eventually, they believed him. Repetition builds belief. Not just in actions, but in identity. Consistency shapes how people see you. By now, you're no longer just listening. You're recognizing patterns. Faces, situations, memories. And that's where awareness begins. At this point, something has shifted. You're no longer just hearing these truths. You're seeing them. In people. In situations. Maybe even, in yourself. Law 36. Confidence reduces questioning. He spoke with certainty. No hesitation. No visible doubt. And people didn't question him. Even when they should have. Confidence creates perceived authority. People are less likely to challenge someone who appears sure of themselves. How you present yourself shapes how much others question you. Law 37. People forgive, but rarely forget patterns. She apologized. And they forgave her. But something had changed. The trust wasn't the same. Forgiveness is possible. But repeated behavior creates lasting impressions. People remember patterns, not just moments. Don't rely on apologies to fix repeated actions. Change the pattern. Law 38. You teach people how to treat you. The first time it happened, she stayed quiet. The second time, she ignored it. By the third time, it became normal. People learn your standards by what you tolerate. If you don't set the standard, others will set it for you. Law 39. People are loyal to benefit, not always to you. As long as he was useful, they stayed. Supported him. Stayed close. But when the benefit disappeared, so did they. Some loyalty is conditional. Built on value, not connection. Pay attention to who stays. When you have nothing to offer. Law 40. Perception is stronger than reality. He was capable. Skilled. Intelligent. But people didn't see it. Because his presence didn't reflect it. People respond to what they perceive. Not always what is true. How you present yourself matters just as much as what you are. Reality is one thing. But perception is what most people react to. Law 41. People respect discipline. While others relaxed, he stayed consistent. Quietly working. Improving. And over time, respect followed. Discipline signals control. And control commands respect. Consistency earns what words cannot. Law 42. Weakness invites pressure. The moment he hesitated, the tone changed. People pushed harder. Tested more. Visible weakness can attract pressure. Not always intentionally, but naturally. Strength, especially emotional strength, protects you. Law 43. People admire resilience silently. They didn't say it, but they noticed. Every setback. Every recovery. Every time he kept going. Resilience isn't always praised out loud. But it's always respected. Even when no one says it. Your strength is seen. Law 44. Energy is felt before words. Before she even spoke. They felt it. Confidence. Calmness. Presence. People sense energy instantly. Before words, before logic. Work on your presence. Not just your speech. Law 45. People reveal truth when emotional. In anger. Things were said. Truths that were never spoken before. But always existed. Strong emotions reduce filters. And truth often slips through. Listen carefully during emotional moments. They reveal more than calm conversations. And now, you see it clearly. The patterns. The behaviors. The unspoken truths. Law 46. Power is often quiet. He didn't speak much. Didn't try to impress. Didn't seek attention. But when he acted, everything moved. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It shows through influence. Not noise. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. Law 47. People stay where they feel valued. It wasn't about money. Or status. It was how they felt. Seen. Respected. Appreciated. People are emotional beings. They stay where they feel valued. Not just where it makes sense. If you want to keep people, value them genuinely. Law 48. Self-respect filters everything. The moment he changed, everything else changed. What he accepted. Who he allowed. What he tolerated. Self-respect acts as a filter. It determines your standards. Your boundaries, your environment. When you respect yourself, you automatically remove what doesn't. At the end of all this, one truth remains. People are not as complicated as they seem. They follow patterns, emotions, perception. And once you understand these patterns, you stop taking everything personally. You stop overreacting. You stop overgiving. You stop expecting everyone to be like you. Instead, you become more aware, more controlled, more intentional. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Not to fear people, but to understand them. Because when you understand people, you move differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. And most importantly, you protect your peace. So take these lessons. Not to change others, but to refine yourself. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can master is not people. It is yourself.